Check. This is good? Is this good? Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to a little thing called BROzy. Yes, BROzy. It's been a long time coming. This is my podcast, the fun podcast for Analog Dan. BROzy is a funny word that I used. It's a combination of bro and cozy. BROzy, so to speak. And I was like, that'd be a fun name for a podcast. Today is just number one. This is going to be a fun stream of consciousness kind of thing. If you're familiar with the cups, this was something that I did ages ago, moons ago, where I brewed a cup of coffee, enjoyed a cup of coffee, and talked every single day with the viewers, you guys. I don't think that this is going to be exactly a replication or an exact replica of that, but I hope it has a similar feel. I have been doing a lot in this space of intentional gaming, and with intentional, wow, dude, look how crazy the hands, it's so wild. With intentional gaming, a lot of these conversations are all around trying to pare things back and just like keep things easy. And I got to get out of the like streamer voice. You know, he has streamer voice. A lot of it has to do with that. And I have seen such a dramatic shift in my own household. Because see, what I did was I introduced this analog thing to not just myself, but my family. Because, you know, I don't live alone. I have a daughter, a son, and a wife, and that I interact with every day. And they interact with their environment, our household, every day. And so we had standard, very, like extremely normal 65-inch TV. You know, everyone, you know, gathers around the TV and watches TV, and the TV is a lot of it. And I'm a dad, and I get tired, and so we spend time around that. And I felt this big pull, kind of early on about this. I was like, I just don't know. How can we break this cycle, right? And this is something that I've talked about. I don't have a napkin or anything. I got a little bit of water in here. This is something that we've talked about here before. And the cycle's been broken, and now we're in this like really interesting in-between where we're trying to like bring some of this like, I don't know how to articulate it, this retro style limitation, right? Because technology just wasn't there. We weren't like all in one spot back then. And so technology was just different. We had different types of access. And so you just couldn't be chronically online because online wasn't consistently there. But now, how can we apply the principles? This is the thing, like the actual principles of this lifestyle to a modern day so that we're not like stripping away some of the conveniences that are actually good and beneficial, right? One example is like people often, there's this new huge rise up of people using dumb phones, right? We got the smartphone era. We all know what a smartphone is, like an iPhone or a, you know, Android or whatever. And then we have the dumb phone, which doesn't have applications that are consistently being pinged and checked in, you know, getting as dumb as, you know, as smart as a BlackBerry, but as dumb as a Nokia flip phone or whatever. And what I'm noticing is people are drawn to this, but there is a slight issue, right? Just because there's issues with modern technology doesn't mean necessarily we need to flee. And so in fleeing from modern technology, modern conveniences, you do end up having a negative byproduct. One of those negative byproducts is you no longer have like maps. It's really hard to play music in your car, especially if you have a newer car, because they don't even have CD players. And so there are these like specific conveniences that we have. They're like, okay, so how do we apply some of these ideas, these modern conveniences? How do we apply the retro mindset, right? And one way, which is kind of interesting, is with my children, we will put on music, but I'm not like, okay, what song do you want to listen to? But rather like what music, like what album, right? Now my daughter doesn't know, because my daughter's usually one. Well, my daughter and my son, they don't know. We listened to a lot of a band recently called Bill Murray, Bilmuri. Really great stuff, fun stuff. Just I can't even explain the actual genre, but we listened to Bill Murray, and the whole thing, as I talk about it, sounds so crazy. The whole thing is like they asked me for a song. I said, okay, but you're going to be listening to just the album, right? And we listened to the album from start to finish. And sometimes they're like, well, I want to skip this song. And we're like, okay, we can skip a song, but I'm not going to go from Bill Murray to, Bluey to Gabby's Playhouse. Like, I'm not going to just hop around like this because I don't want to facilitate this type of like non-committal flavor of the week kind of thing, right? I had to excuse that. I got like a phone call. It was a little bit distracting. This is going to be a raw uncut, dude. I'm going for it, man. We're just going for it. Anyway, so the non-committal aspect is something that I'm like, we got to figure out how to fix that. And so it has been this like, this like selection. And I recently in gaming, we talked about, if you're part of the channel, you know this, I have been choosing one game, right? So last game was Pragmata. Great game. Extremely, oh my gosh, I loved that game. And if you want to watch the review, it's up on the channel. It's the last video that was posted. But that game itself was one that there were multiple times where ADHD was getting the best of me, right? So like I was like, okay, I'm starting on this game. Let's get to, let's have fun. It's good. It's great. It's great. It's great. I'm different time of the day. I'm going to grab a different. No, I couldn't because the game key card was locked in there. Everything was locked in. I couldn't change it. And that was something that like reminded me, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of how it used to be. That's the feeling that used to be there. Like you used to have to like commit. And I think a lot of it comes down to just that commitment side of things. Like the commitment in entertainment, which is something that was like used to kind of help us relax, became almost cumbersome. And I found that to be so fascinating. Like, how can the thing that was supposed to like instill rest and like excitement become like tedious? Like we talk about backlogs on the channel and you guys are familiar, but like that. And also, sorry, I understand there's a new format, the podcast, kind of rough, raw around the edges. So get, that we're gonna get through these first couple of episodes of BROzy, and then we'll get ourselves going. But if you're listening to this and not watching this, this lives on the Analog Den channel. This is just under the podcast category for BROzy. And if you're not and you're just listening to this, welcome. I am come check it out over on YouTube. This table, I know, a little ADHD jump. This table was the first table that I used. I purchased this table from IKEA back 4 years ago when I was doing YouTube. I've been doing the same thing for a while. And this table was actually used. It's signed by my dad and someone else. It was actually used for my very, very first ever podcast called Button Mashers. Button Mashers was a podcast where I talked about gaming news and kind of stream of consciousness stuff. And so I wanted to bring that back to a certain degree. We're not going to dive into too much gaming news because it's just not something I'm that fascinated by. But this table was the first table ever. It is very rickety. If I move it, everything moves around. But I just remember this so vividly because I've used this table for multiple things on my first YouTube channel, so I had to bring it back. That all being said, the experience that I had with Pragmata was this one of focus, this one of like, my distractions were kind of like I couldn't let them get involved. I couldn't let them get in the way. I couldn't let my distractions, my ADHD, because I had put up these blinders, right? And it was it like really, really genuinely kind of smacked me back into the track. Like I realized I was like one wheel on a track, one wheel off the track. It just kind of knocked me on. I was like, it felt so much more, I don't know, fluid. To have this experience in which like I don't jump around, right? As you guys can see behind me, I have my everything here. This is kind of the craziness that exists. I have the PC, which is decommissioned. I have all of my manga, which I'm reading. I have my actual setup back here, which I'm not even, I'm using, but for the Switch and stuff. And this as a whole is kind of like a real embodiment of like me trying to make sense of everything all at once. You see, like I got into manga when a buddy of mine kind of like turned me on to it. He's like, hey, you say you really want to get into anime, but you don't want to watch it. Well, how about you read the mangas? And in reading the mangas, I'm like, oh, this is really great because it can speed through some of the shows without having to watch a bunch of the extra stuff. No, there's really no fillers there. Except Dragon Ball Z Super has so much stuff in it that I'm like, does this have to exist? I mean, shout out to anyone who loves Dragon Ball Z. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan now, ginormous fan. But man, Dragon Ball Z Super, it got to that space where I was like, dude, can we just like hold on for a second, dude? Like we spent a full like 3 books talking about the Lord of Lords, the World of Worlds, the God of Gods, and then we went interdimensional. And if there's anything that I despise more in fandom is when you get into interdimensional stuff. Interdimensional thing is so confusing. It's why I don't like Marvel. Marvel is so unbelievably confusing because they're like, hey, well, in this reality and that reality. I'm like, dude, I want one reality and that's it. I mean, I'm almost overwhelmed with what Final Fantasy is doing when they're trying to split everything up and be like, well, the remake is actually just like this, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's too much. We need to like back off. Just take a step back off. At any rate, the whole thing when it comes to manga was this spot where I was like, okay, I can get through this, and it was a way to put the whole anime thing and like just to kind of put it into a spot where I could enjoy it, but I didn't have to like fully invest in the experience. I mean, dude, trying to get caught up on something like One Piece, I can read a book in an hour, and that's like the equivalent of like 30 episodes. Not really. Well, there's like 1,000 episodes, and I have 150 books, something like that. 130 books. So that's like what? That's like 30. That's not 30. That's way less. My math is horrible, and I keep getting phone calls, so I had to like mute everything. At any rate, it's nice slowing things down a little bit. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But welcome to, again, BROzy, a really, really hot entrance here. There are a few things that I want this first episode to talk about. One is the whole idea behind trying to unplug and get away from the continuous stimulation is one that I felt of this idea of kind of like, have you seen in movies where you're like, you see the main character just standing there and then everything around them is like blurry and going crazy? I felt that way. Like at the beginning of this year, I felt that so much. Like I was just like letting things just happen. I was not in control of any of it. And the more I let it happen, the less I felt like I was actually doing anything. Whether it was acquiring more games, playing more games, talking about, or movies, or I didn't feel like I could reach out and touch anything. And there was this like moment when I started playing Animal Crossing. I remember so vividly. I was streaming it a little bit and I was having fun with it. And it was this weird departure from what I was used to. It was something that like I've tried 100 times over and I never really enjoyed. Oh, sweet. Excuse me. Oh, it's so good. I got to be careful with my shirt. By the way, for those of you who want to know, this shirt is by American Giant. It's called the Everest Tee. It's a hyper heavyweight, 100% cotton, heritage cut, a little bit shorter on the midriff, so it's not all the way down to your freaking kneecaps. Oversized, boxy fit tee. And I bought a couple because I like them. They're premium, they last forever, and they're great. So I know you guys have been asking. This is the American Giant thing, and it is not cheap, but you don't have to have a lot of them because you can wear them every day and you're fine. You just got to make sure that you're not a filthy person. This is going to be a crazy first episode, guys. A crazy first episode. At any rate, I was playing Animal Crossing. I got to remember to just to weave through these, dude. Okay, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Not the coffee. I'm feeling the podcast juices. Okay, I'm feeling them. You'll have to excuse me because I'm recording this after I've streamed. And so there's a lot of... I'm already pretty taxed. It was a long stream. So at any rate, the creative juices are going now. I was playing Animal Crossing, and this is where BROzy came from. I'm like, this feels cozy, I'm like, this is lame. Everyone uses that word. I'm a bro. It's BROzy. But it was like this. This is silly. I look at myself sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm rough and tumble, bearded dude. I don't do crazy things. Like I don't go out and work construction like I used to. So really quite tame. I take care of 2 children and I live in a very nice home. Like there's nothing rough around the edges about me, but like I view myself that way, right? The Sasquatch is right. I view myself that way. So that has to mean something, right? So I view myself this way. And so in viewing myself this way, I'm like, okay, so Broie, right? Broie, and then Cozy. And it was this like slowing down while I was playing games. I'm like, oh, this is why. Like this is I'm actually like interacting, right? When I played Animal Crossing the first time, I didn't feel like I was interacting as much because it felt like this like almost obligatory practice of like play the game that everyone's playing, like everyone's into it. When it came out back in 2020 or 2021, whenever it originally released, I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's do the dailies. Everyone's doing it because this is the way they're pretending that they're actually interacting with humans because we can't interact with humans right now. And I was like, oh, okay. And then try it again later and then but it wasn't until I let go of it all of being like, oh wait, I'm gonna like be present, that I was like, oh, that's it. It's the being present. Now, did I continue playing it? Nope. It's kind of boring. Same with Bogopia. I want to like it. I think I just don't like sim games where you like simulate that you're like doing a thing. But like, that's what BROzy is, dude. BROzy is like this idea. I like labeling things. It's this idea that like you don't need to like a BROzy game. You don't know what a BROzy game for me is? A BROzy game for me that I enjoy that kind of like relaxes me and is like, ooh, this is nice. Oddly enough, was Pragmata. Pragmata was like the epitome of a BROzy game. I could adventure through. I could do the things. My brain could like kind of unravel a little bit. And that was the thing that like I was looking for. I was looking for the unraveling of my brain. Also, is my shirt too white? Okay, I hope it's not because I can't. If it's blown out, it's blown out. I probably shouldn't wear white all the time. Is it? Too late now. Too late now. At any rate, yeah. So there's that, and like the reason why I wanted a podcast to exist is eventually I'd like to be able to share a cup of coffee with someone else. That's like a really big thing that I want to do, and that's the point is for this to be a spot where I'm not just pouring coffee to myself, but I'm pouring it to someone else. Because the whole idea of, I think, this analog gimmick or this endeavor was to create a movement, right? And not one that was like, oh, we're doing something. No, this like idea of like, to get back to like, hey, I'm super unrealistic as a 37-year-old man with children and a wife and a full family. Hey, I'm coming over to hang out. Like, dude, I remember when I was younger, we'd have friends of my parents just like show up to be like, hey, how you doing? Knocking on the door. Just want to check in. Like, it was so nice, you know? It was so cool, like, how that was. It was such a beautiful thing, and I miss it. I miss knocking on the door of somebody and knowing that there's a possibility, high likelihood, to be quite honest, that they weren't going to be there. And that in them not being there, you would just have to go home. Riding your bike to a buddy's house to find out if they could do something because no one was picking up the phone. Well, I guess they're not. My daughter goes and she knocks on. Now, granted, it's someone in the neighborhood, so it's really no real big potatoes here. She's walking across the street here. But she goes and knocks on the door of her best friend on the block and sees if she's home. Could I text the father and say, are they there? Yeah, I could. Easy. Would he text me back? Yeah, he does. But I don't. And it's because there's something special about it. You know, just thinking about it now. There's something special about the act of moving through a space. So doing that, I mean, we're over philosophizing. Who cares? We're overdoing it here. There's something so magical about this, like, the unknown, dude. The unknown, dude. How sick is that? When you think about it, like, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. Now, I'm someone who's guilty of not being particularly excited about, the juices are flowing, dude. If you got through the first 14 minutes, we're back in it. I'm not someone who's particularly too excited about ambiguity, but uncertainty is a different thing, I think. When you really break that down, uncertainties are really a kind of a different thing. So ambiguity is like this, like potentially damaging outcome, but uncertainty is like just the absence of knowledge or the absence of understanding. And that is okay, I think. I think that's okay. In fact, I think we need more of that. I think we need a more uncertainty. I think part of the reason why I sometimes find myself in a stressed out position is because I don't embrace the fact that uncertainty is okay and is different than ambiguity. But we live in this time period where ambiguity seems to be synonymous with uncertainty. I know it's an obscure it's an obscure thing, but let's work through it. Let's wrestle through it together. Let's take a sip of coffee from none other than the ceramic-lined Yeti cup, which not a sponsor. And to be honest, Yeti, you're great. I wouldn't take it. Oh man, that's good. That's good coffee. That's my coffee, by the way. That's the Sasquatch brew. Eventually, that will be coming to some sort of shop that you can acquire your very own 12 ounces of fresh coffee beans. The Sasquatch brew. That's name pending. That's certainly not going to be called that. It's going to be called something way more freaking cool. Anyway, this uncertainty. I keep looking over here because my daughter's and my son's pictures are over here, so I'm just like looking at them and thinking of them. But like the I don't know, the je ne sais, okay, what is it? What was that from? The je ne sais quoi? I don't know what that means. It's from a movie. Let me know. That's from a movie. The je ne sais quoi. I don't know what that means. Oh my gosh, dude, that's such a funny. I feel like it's from Dumb and Dumber. Am I wrong? I could be. The je ne sais, for those of you who don't know, I speak French. That means I don't know. That's why it's very funny. But that uncertainty, I'm just marveling in it right now. Again, I know it seems like I'm overdoing it, but I miss that. You know, there's one book I read when I was in high school. It was Catcher in the Rye. And it was because it had bad words in it. So I thought, oh, this is going to be something I'm going to enjoy. It's very... And I found out that it was a banned book at some time, so I'm like, ooh, naughty. I read that book, and there's a repeated thing that happens, and it's the main character of the book. I can't believe I'm talking about The Catcher in the Rye on a podcast. Like, what's next? Am I going to be talking about freaking, what's that guy who makes those movies in all the different colors with Owen Wilson and the Wilson brothers all the time? Not Guy Ritchie. I don't know why that keeps coming to a name, but you guys know who I'm talking about, right? At any rate. The main character, Holden Caulfield, good heavens almighty, he talks about the innocence of being robbed from kids, right? Like they're forced to grow up. And it's such a powerful idea now that I like understand what that means. Like my own children, their world is so small. They exit my front door and then they go to their friend's house. There's a few on the block, knock on some doors. That's their world. That's it. That's as far as the reach of their world is. My parents live in a different state, so they live in a different planet almost, because a plane is what's necessary to get to where my parents live. And my in-laws live in a different town, but they have to go in a car. So it's like, that's like way far away. They don't know what's in between the two. Maybe a couple parks that we've stopped at, but it's like, these things, like their world is so small and ours has become so big. But the problem that I think has happened is when we were younger, our worlds were small, but we understand that there was something bigger out there. But what has technology done? Oh my gosh, am I freaking bringing it back right now? Pfft, that's awesome. What technology has done is it's made the big world small, but it hasn't reduced the feeling of it being big. Let me explain what that means. So like you have this big, huge, giant thing that exists, right? I'm not going to do examples. I mean, I'm going to explain. I'm not going to try to do a visual here. You have the world in its entirety. And now that everything is connected, we now have the ability to reach every aspect of that world in its entirety. So now, this actually makes sense. Okay, so you have your house, okay? Track with me here. We're doing things. You have your house that is only so large. There's only so much you can fit in your home, right? And you start to fill it with little parts, little bits of the world. And then all of a sudden, something gets invented where you can bring every bit of the world into your home. Now, imagine if you were to do that, but nothing shrunk in size. Everything was the same size. And so now the weight and the actual gravity of everything that exists functions in your space. You can't move anymore. You're crippled because you went from having only very selective access to certain parts of the world to everything all the time, all at once. It's crippling. Gosh, that's it. And that's what technology has done. Technology has made it so that we are so connected that we are now crippled to where we're isolated. We have so many things at our fingertips that it is now virtually, if not completely impossible for us to enjoy any of them because everything is there. If I choose this, that means everything else does. That's so crazy, dude. When you think about it that way, that's so nuts. That shouldn't be. Like that shouldn't be. We shouldn't have that kind of access, right? And then you pair that with the idea of like, I got to stay informed. And now the access to information is now necessary. And so we went from like almost voluntarily being like, oh yeah, I'll take in every single song that ever existed. Sure, I'll have access to every movie that ever existed. No, yeah, I'll take in every book that's ever existed in a small little flat panel. And now we go from that to like, oh yeah, and I'm also going to take on every problem that's happening right now and every single issue that the world is going through right now. And I'm going to now pair it with every company that exists. Dude, it is at its core. I think single-handedly it is the destruction of everything. Dramatic? Maybe. But I think I could distill it down to it being the single-handed most destructive thing that's ever existed. The access to information we have. I don't know what me having access to everything that is happening in the world at all times has done for me. I think if anything, it has done things to me rather than for me. And going back to the whole analog idea is, so a lot of us lived through the 2000s and the 90s. I was younger in the 90s, right? I was born in 89. So I experienced the 90s like coherently halfway through. I'd say around 6 or 7, I started really experiencing the 90s, which is about 96, right? 97 or 95, 96. And so around that time, I started to like really develop the like imagination and having fun and doing things and having fun with friends, running over to friends' houses. I used to walk to my buddy's house and then we'd walk to our school. I don't know how far it was, but it was just him and I. We were 7 years old, just walked to first grade. No big deal. Just walking away. And I sound like I'm 106 saying it this way, but I'm trust me, I'm getting to something. I'm not getting into, man, things were better back then. What I was getting to, well, they were, but let me just take it easy. Take a step back, take a sip of coffee and enjoy yourselves, okay? What I'm getting at is that it's not that the actual thing itself, not the game, trying to get back into podcasting, let me get my brain right. It wasn't that the being young was better. It's that at that time period, we physically, both technologically and actual physically, we did not have the capabilities to have access to as much as we had now. And I do remember specifically my parents having what seemingly, and this is crazy to think about. My parents seemingly had more moments where they were twiddling their thumbs, so to speak, right? My dad sitting on the couch with me. We didn't have a TV in our living room. We had TV in our den, and the den was kind of the play place, and the TV wasn't allowed to be on most of the time. It was very, very selective times. But I remember with my family and other families, more people were in the same room at the same time. When you think about that, that's kind of crazy, right? And now it feels like we've like made cubicles in our own homes, and that people, or even like they may be in the same room, but they're not with each other because they're all on their phones or whatever, which we've all, been guilty of. It's really quite fascinating when you sit back and think about it. And I guess it comes down to like one specific topic, which is, are we better for it? And I would argue, I don't need to argue because no one's here to talk about it. I would consider most of us to be able to say, I don't think we're better for it. In fact, I think like from my experience, which is just mine, not everyone else's, but if I'm experiencing it, chances are at least 1 to 2 other people are too. I don't think we're better for it. Now, is the answer throwing away all technology all the time? I'm not going to say that because, again, technology itself isn't the problem. I think the problem is how technology is being used. It's always the case. Just, you can apply that to just about anything. The item is not the problem. The problem is how that item is being used, right? Coffee is not a problem, but if you take coffee and you just make brew a hot cup of coffee and you decide that you are going to go around your neighborhood and spray hot coffee on people, you're a lunatic. Why would you go through the actual act of making coffee? It's such a waste of coffee. It's wasteful. But also you're just pouring scalding hot coffee on people. That's crazy. Like, why would you do that? Now, is coffee the problem there? No, it's the individual who's running around with a hot pot of coffee and throwing on someone. So I'm not going to say that cell phones are the problem, because cell phones aren't the problem. Or smartphones rather, because they're not really cell phones. You on the phone for a phone call, probably far less than you are for. I mean, I'd be curious actually. Let me know in the comment. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't let me know in the comments, because I think that it would make people too depressed. Don't do it. I'll ask the question though, because cliffhangers are lame. I was gonna say, look at the applications on your phone. How much of it is actually spent using it as a phone, and how much of it is spent using it for just about anything else. But technology as a whole is not bad, but how we use it. And I think the biggest part of technology that I believe it has caused the most amount of this is the thought that we need to know. Example time. I was watching Jurassic Park with my buddy Ethan. I talked about it on another video. You guys met Ethan. And while we were watching it, he's like, that girl, that actress, is that, what's her name? And I think I was off cuff. I was like, oh, Laura Dern. And he's like, yeah. But I was uncertain. I'm like, but I think, let me check real quick. And he's like, why? And I was like, yeah, why? I don't think he knew he said that. But I was like, yeah, why? It's not important. It doesn't change whether or not Jurassic Park is good. And for those of you who don't know, that was his first time watching Jurassic Park. VHS, CRT TV, living room, fire on, nighttime. It was on a couch with a buddy. When was the last time you did that, huh? When was the last time you sat on the couch with a good buddy and watched a movie, dude? It was so sick. It was so sick. At any rate, I was like, yeah. We don't need to confirm this right now. Like, we could just watch this movie and everything's going to be A-okay. Like, it doesn't need to be confirmed right now. And so we didn't. And I was right. It's Laura Dern. Of course it's Laura Dern. Right? And so it was this moment where I was like, oh, that's what technology does. Right? I don't remember who exactly said this. But it was, I think it was a conversation between Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. It has to be, because it sounds like something that they would talk about. I think Joe Rogan probably asked Elon Musk, how long until we're cyborgs, right? And he goes, we already are. And he goes, what are you talking about? And he pulls out his phone. He goes, we have everything. No, it wasn't him. It wasn't Elon Musk. This doesn't sound articulated enough. Maybe it was Gary V. I don't know. It was someone talking about phones. It's like, we're cyborgs. We have everything here. No, it was Elon Musk, because he was talking about how we have everything here. It's going from taking the information and inputting the specific question and then getting the information to no longer having to input it and just receiving the information faster. That's what it is. But let me ask you this. How many times have you been thinking about something and then you open up Instagram and all of a sudden it's there? Now that's something that I'm very curious about. Now I don't, because I don't have Instagram anymore or TikTok, but I am very curious. So how is that happening? How do they know that I'm thinking about this? This is kind of crazy, right? I don't think they know. I think that algorithms are very sophisticated, and they're able through learned patterns to be like, oh, this person is looking up how to cook certain meats on a barbecue. They're probably trying to figure out if they are able to make jerky and what the best smoke flavoring is for. So let's give them seasonings, because they asked about Traeger and low smoke and specific cuts. I think that's more around the lines of what we're dealing with here. But also, how many times have you gone on the internet and then they ask you, are you cool with us tracking every single thing your mouse does so that we can advertise across multiple platforms? It's just, at what point do we go, you know what? I'm not cool with it. And take it a step further and go, I don't need to do this, right? I understand. Like some of us, we do need to do a lot of it, but I challenge you. Guys, both Sasquatches and onlookers. I challenge you. And for those of you who don't know, the Sasquatches is our secret society of Sasquatches, right? The Sasquatch Society. We sit around a big stump, drink coffee, and have a good freaking time together. And the onlookers are those who are not yet Sasquatches. Onlookers are just people who are waiting to become something greater. Sasquatches is the name of our channel memberships, and you just get to be a Sasquatch if you become a channel member. And I mean, from a real perspective, it supports what I'm doing. The more channel members that sign up, the more of a consistent income I bring in. And so that is kind of how it is. Right now, I'm probably maybe 1/15 of the way to a spot where I can consider this a full-time job. So we're making our way. It's been a few years. I think I'll get there. That being said, both Sasquatches and onlookers alike, I challenge you. For like, until the next episode of BROzy, until we talk again in BROzy, right? I want you to, in every conversation you have, if you don't know the answer to something like, who's the actress in Jurassic Park? To say, I don't know. And don't look it up. Don't look it up. Take note. Will you and whoever you're talking to be okay moving on not knowing? Do you have to know who the supporting actor was in Inglourious Basterds? Do you have to know what the name is? I bet right now you're like, I do. You said it, so I do. I don't even know. I just chose a specific like line in the credits in my brain, and then also a movie. And why was it Inglourious Basterds? I don't know. Right? And so do you have to know that? I don't think so. Now, if you're my wife and you chronically watch Jeopardy, then maybe you do have to know that. And so she gets a pass because she watches so much Jeopardy. Guys, my wife loves Jeopardy. It's great. I mean, I'll take it. My wife watches Jeopardy almost every night, which is incredible, and loves it. And it's so fun to watch. She'll laugh at Ken Jennings' jokes. She laughed at Trebek's jokes. She'll laugh, and she'll be like big belly laugh. It's so adorable to watch. My wife, and I'll take it because my wife doesn't watch any of the horrid reality TV shows that exist. Like she doesn't. And so I'll take it. Walking in, and what's on the TV? Jeopardy. Currently, she's going through the Ken Jennings arc, as she calls it, his 72 game winning streak, all of them back to back. Like that's what we're watching. That's what's on. Not some horrible love show. No, she's watching that, which is great. But she gets a pass because she's into trivia. Aside from trivia alone, do we need to know? And I think that's the thing that technology has created, is this fallacy of knowledge, of like, I have to know this now. I have to be the person who's able to say this thing. And somehow society-wise, we've become accustomed to think it's not disrespectful to, in the middle of a conversation, completely ignore the person in front of us, to look up something that is like almost always, if not always, unnecessary. And the worst part about it is usually in that process of moving through that specific like thing is like you go from asking a question, having a conversation, that conversation goes and devolves into saying something like, what's the supporting act? And then now you're on your phone. And then the other person subconsciously gets the go ahead to take their phone out to check. And now that personal relationship that you've been making or developing or that moment that you've been having is completely fractured and gone. Because, I mean, let's be real. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have heard of the thing called flow state. It's silly. It's real hippy dippy stuff here, but it's a good example. Flow state is usually when someone is doing work and it takes a while for them to get their engines going, but once they get going, the momentum goes and they can kind of just lock in, right? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just don't like the language around it. But like conversations are kind of that way too. You know, when you're talking with someone, you don't just like, it's not like, hey, oh, we're in it right away. It takes a little bit of let's get the ball rolling, right? Especially if it's someone you don't know super well, but even if it's someone you do know super well, you know. And so once you're starting, we have developed this tolerance for in the middle of something, someone to pull their phone out and be like, I got to look this up. Also, smart devices. Again, I'm wearing a watch that has smart features. The only smart features that I use on this watch are steps and activity. No phone calls go through to here and no messages do either. And I'm using it right now in the weeks we're at, almost at 4 weeks, and then I'll stop wearing it. But the month after my appendix surgery, I wanted all of my health trackers. You know, honestly, it's so inaccurate. My things. So I don't know where the hiccup is, but so we're gonna ditch this watch. I don't even like wearing this digital. We're gonna have fun with this one. This is the one we're gonna do. We're gonna do the Timex. The Casio. I don't know which one this is, but this is the world clock. I like this one a lot. This one's nice. Yeah. At any rate, the whole idea that I'm getting at here in this first episode is just I think that we might be at a point where maybe we figure out how we can step aside from. What's the word I'm looking for? Not engagement. Stimulation. That's the one. Stimulation. How do we do it? And I think that the only thing I can come up with, and this is the best I can do right now, today, 2026 on June 6th, is for 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, after you watch or listen to this episode, take note. Try to maybe set an alarm clock every hour goes off that you stop and try to remember what you've just done. Try to establish an element of presence. Establish an element of like, I am here, I'm doing this. And see like, how much of life are you living or how much of life are you just kind of going through the motions? And you can start with something completely additional. I mean, extracurricular, like your hobby. Because I think our hobbies are unfortunately taking a lot of this too. Or you can get really intentional with it and go to relationships, however far. But I think this week the challenge is simple. Take inventory. Just take inventory. And yeah, that's it. So I'm going to have to do a little magic in here because we have some interruptions, and I promise this is going to work out and get a little bit better. But BROzy episode 1. We did it. You can listen to this on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere that I think that's it. You can also watch this on YouTube on the Analog Den YouTube channel. And I'm playing with the idea of some sort of Patreon so I can create a revenue stream that makes this an option for me to create a living off of. So we're doing all those things. But yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy it. And we'll come up with a catchphrase. But for now, I'll just see you guys around. All right. Cheers.